strange news articles that you might have missed in the news. Today, we'll be covering how US presidential candidates want to release more UFO footage. Another person from Additive is going to release a UFO book. SpaceX updates, a crazy new invention by culinary experts in Japan, and so much more. I'm very excited for this episode. And before we get started, I do want to mention that starting today, some strange news is going to be live and others are going to be pre recorded. Starting off with US presidential candidates wanting to release UFO footage, at least so they say. We've heard this consistently over the last few decades, and one of the more popular times this took place was during the 2016 presidential elections, where Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, and Donald Trump said, if I become president, I will release UFO footage, UFO information, Roswell information, so on and so forth. But we actually haven't really been receiving any information from any of those people and presidents that have come before them, like Ronald Reagan, Carter, Clinton as well. They've all shown an interest in UFOs, but then they say, oh, I can't talk about it, or I wasn't given any information. At this point, Donald Trump had mentioned in a podcast with Lex Friedman that he wants to release UFO footage. Is he being serious? Or is it merely a talking point now? Because it seems as if so many people in the United States have this immense interest in UFOs, wanting to receive more information, wanting to get more footage and more photographs as well. So I'd like to see if that does take place, if we're actually going to get more footage. Now, with Kamala Harris, she doesn't have an interest in it. Publicly, at least, she has not mentioned anything about that. If she is elected, that she will release footage, that she will release information. So we don't know about that. But at this point in time, it just seems to be a talking point to gain interest in people, to gain an extra vote is, hey, if you vote for me, I will give you more UFO footage and information. We've heard it too many times before. We really, really have. And I think it's creating a level of skepticism here of, are they being serious? Are they just saying that? What's really going on? He's also mentioned publicly, Donald Trump has mentioned, that while he claims not to be a personal believer, he doesn't rule out the existence of aliens. I think in that case, it's not bad to have this level of skepticism of being either a believer or a non-believer, but in this case, he seems to be on the fence. He's like, I've heard people tell me stories, I've gotten information about so-called Roswell. Donald Trump Jr. did an interview with Donald Trump, gosh, I want to say like a year or two now, and that was one of his son's first questions is, do you know anything about Roswell? And he kind of chuckled a little bit and he says, I can't really talk about that. So I will keep you updated on how this is going to continue to unfold. But right now, it just seems like it's a talking point. Getting on to our next one, but still staying in the topic of UFOs, another person from ATIP is going to be releasing their UFO book. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Jay Stratton because he is the former director of the US government's UAPTF and he has secured a memoir deal with HarperCollins. The timing could not be more perfect. First of all, we have the book Eminent by Lou Elizondo was just released a few weeks ago. We're supposed to get yet another UFO whistleblower hearing or UFO hearing in September or October, according to Representative Anna Paulina Luna when she spoke to Ask a Poll. So that's going to be interesting. And then in this whole hodgepodge of this UFO curry that we're making, Jay Stratton says, I'm going to release my book. I'm going to release my memoir. This is very exciting in some ways and very confusing in others because when I was thinking about this, looking this over, I thought, why now? Why release the book right after Lou? Or is it just the perfect timing in the sense of he finally finished his book and it just happened to be close to Elizondo's release? Was he nudged to do so? Is it going to discredit everything from the previous book, right? From Elizondo's book? I don't know. We know nothing about this book except that Jay Stratton is writing one and it's going to be released at some point, and he made a deal with HarperCollins. That's all the information we have. But he does state here that he wants to reveal as much information as legally possible about the US government's investigation into UAP and non human intelligence. We've heard that before, haven't we? Several times. So I'd like to see what new information he is going to release, if any. Jay Stratton really seems to have gotten in the public eye kind of recently, if you were to ask me. And he really began to become known in when he was a guest in the Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch episodes of what last season, I believe, or 2 seasons ago. That's when people kind of saw him for the first time in this public light. And what I noticed in those episodes is that he was always kind of standing in the background, just standing and watching, observing, right? Monitoring, maybe. And so then ever since then, he's done a few interviews, he's spoken out more publicly, but he's not necessarily as famous as Lou Elizondo, but that might change with this new memoir that again is just promising. That's the words that he uses. Promising to reveal as much information about UFOs as possible. Is it going to be information that you and I are not familiar with? Is it going to be information that's just regurgitated yet again? Is it going to be from his perspective when he spoke to certain people involved in the topic? I'm excited to see what's going to take place because I have no idea what to expect. And I don't think a lot of people do. And all I can say at this point is the timing is really, really interesting. But something else that is interesting is the latest launch from SpaceX, because SpaceX's Polaris Dawn mission, which launched on Tuesday, September 10th, is set to make history as the first commercial space flight to attempt a spacewalk. How long have we been talking about this? How long have we been saying, when is this going to happen? SpaceX is kind of exceeding everybody else. So this mission that was funded by Jared Isaacman, founder of Shift 4, carries 4 civilian astronauts, being Isaacman himself, Scott Poteet, Sarah Gillis, and Anna Menon. And the Crew Dragon capsule will has already ascended to an initial orbit of 745 miles before reaching a peak altitude of 870 miles, surpassing any crewed spacecraft since the Apollo missions. This is significant. This is exciting, and it's making history. SpaceX has been setting up all these goals and then overcoming all of them. And in this case, with this new mission, is it late? Yeah. So we're in 2024 and we're just now seeing this. A bit disappointing, but at the same time, they are the first company, private company, to do so. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to watch this just all unravel right in front of our eyes. And as you can tell, I'm pretty excited about this. So, on the third day of the mission, 2 crew members will perform a groundbreaking 2 hour spacewalk at an altitude of approximately 430 miles. And this spacewalk presents rather unique challenges and risks as well, because unlike the ISS, the International Space Station, the Crew Dragon capsule lacks an airlock, requires the entire spacecraft to be depressurized, and all 4 crew members must wear spacesuits during the operation, with the entire capsule exposed to the vacuum of space. And the team will use new spacesuits that have never before been tested in space. It doesn't really sound very enticing. And relying on a 12-foot umbilical cord for life support, which we've seen with previous astronauts before. And let me just take a side note here. I think, like many of us as children, we're like, oh, I really want to be an astronaut. It's going to be the coolest thing ever. I got the brains, I got the athletic abilities. I can totally be an astronaut. And then I had one person. It just took one person to crush my dreams when I was, I don't know, 6. And this girl said, if they just cut the rope off your spacesuit and the craft, right? You're dead. It's game over. And in many ways, that scarred me for life, and I never attempted to fulfill that six-year-old dream of being an astronaut. So that umbilical cord for life support, between you and me, hard pass. Hard pass right there. I just feel like there's just too many things to go wrong with that. But the mission also involves navigating through the Van Allen radiation belt, exposing the crew to high levels of space radiation, which might have long term health implications. But I would assume here, okay, I'm just going to put it out there that with these spacesuits, they're probably calculated that in mind, right? And they're hopefully not putting these astronauts at risk. But overall, this is super exciting to see this spacewalk take place, for it to happen. And I look forward to hear when these astronauts come back to Earth, how their press conference is going to go, what they're going to mention, and if they saw anything out of the ordinary. Something that is out of the ordinary, though, are certain food additives tested on rats that makes their skin transparent. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And when you hear this ingredient, it's gonna let some sparks fly in your mind because we see this in food, and that is yellow number 5. I knew a girl once, just once, that was allergic to yellow food coloring. And this blew my mind. I was so confused. And I thought, how can you be allergic to a color? To be fair, I was at least 12. All right. I didn't know that there were actually ingredients incorporated in these colors. Right. And I'm like, if you look at the color yellow, like, I don't know, will you get sick or something? Y- When you're 12, you're dumb. And at that time, I was as well. But she would actually get very sick, have, like, just full-blown nausea and vomiting and things like this when she would consume things like goldfish, Cheez-Its, Doritos, or anything that had a very specific yellow food coloring. Well, in this case, researchers have discovered a novel technique to make living mice temporarily transparent using the FD&C yellow number 5. Now, this FDA certified color additive, often found in foods and cosmetics, can be applied to the skin of mice, allowing scientists to visualize internal organs and blood vessels without surgery. So they're seeing this in a positive light. Like, they're like, "Oh, this is super cool. It's revolutionary." Yeah. They we haven't seen this take place in humans. There's a lot of people that consume this food additive, and to my understanding, they're not having any transparent, translucent skin of any kind. But maybe if you ingest a little too many Doritos, maybe you will start being a walking ghost. So who needs a costume this Halloween when you can just have all of your guts and organs and blood vessels show through your skin? That'd actually be kinda cool. There's this frog known as the glass frog that has transparent skin completely, and you can see all of its organs. There are scientists that put a light under them, and it just highlights all of them, and it's actually honestly, it's very cool, but I don't know how that helps them with their survival in the wilderness. Like, I don't know whose idea it was to say, "Hey, let's have frogs have this certain kind of frog have transparent skin because it looks cool." But, like, will it help them is the real question. Now, this process only takes a few minutes to render the skin transparent and can be reversed by rinsing with water. It's not so bad. And the excess dye is excreted in the rodent's urine within 48 hours, so it's not harmful. So they say. And while the treatment induced minimal short term inflammation, it did not appear to have long term effects on the animal's health. So, this new approach offers a safe, temporary, and non invasive means of visualizing deep tissue and organs living in species. I like the optimism here. I think that's kind of cool. But something that is making people feel a little queasy, more so than stale Doritos, is this new instant ramen that was created by Boost Noodle. And what we're looking at here is a whole blown pouch. It's a suckable pouch that has ramen in it. And it includes yam noodles, katsu pork, fermented bamboo shoots, a mix of pork and seafood broth, and I think a few other vegetables as well. And this was created with gamers in mind so that when they're playing their game, they can use one hand to eat, right? And it requires minimal effort to make. Like, honestly, no prepping. I think you can have it either at room temperature, maybe you might be able to have it in the microwave for a few seconds. But for all of those super intense gamers that just don't have time to use both hands to eat, bam, suckable pouch. Just like a Capri Sun, but with food instead of sugar. This took 2 years to make and test, and there were a lot of challenges, which included preventing soggy noodles, the flavor, obviously. So the question is, would you rather just pour hot water into a bowl of ramen or have this suckable pouch of yam noodles, which I've never had, so I can't really place any kind of opinion on that. But would I try this? Yes. Yes, I would. I would try it in a heartbeat because why not? The question is, would you try it? Let me know in the comments right down below. And before you even type that if you would do it or not. I do write articles for all of the shows that take place right here. You can find it on my website at strangeparadigms.com or on Medium under Cristina Gomez. There is no H in Cristina. So if you like more bite-sized short articles, that is the place to find them. Now you can tell me, would you try these noodles or would you not? Hit that like button right down below. And if you would like bonus content, free merch, and so much more, check out my Patreon. That link is in the description box below. That is the best way to support this channel and get so much extra content. That is it for today. I will see you next time. Be safe and remember, keep your eyes on the skies. If you enjoy the strange and the mysterious, UFOs, the paranormal, and cryptids, this channel is for you. So make sure to subscribe as I do 3 videos right here every single week and hit that notification bell so you do not miss any of the bonus content I post right here.